Hello, everyone. Welcome to Not Quite Victory Monday here on Locked On Canadiens. I have your Habs Leafs recap from the weekend. The power play woes continue, and we have cuts coming from camp down to 33 bodies. Who's left? Who's gone? Find out inside today's show.
You are Locked On Canadiens, your daily podcast on the Montreal Canadiens, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 923 of Locked On Canadiens. We are, of course, your daily Montreal Canadiens podcast, brought to you by the Locked On Podcast Network. You get your team every single day of the week, wherever you get your daily podcast, Google, Apple, Spotify, or if you are watching my shining face on youtube.com. Of course, I am Scott Matlin. I want to thank you for making Locked On Canadiens your first listen of the day every single day of the week. Like I said, find us wherever you are, and thank you so much. We hit 3,000 subscribers. I got to convene with Laura on the idea, but there will be a food challenge again. I think it's something we did last year that we're going to do again, mostly because we had a lot of fun doing that, and we're a little more prepared this year. More details to follow on that. We'll probably do a Friday night live stream or something like that again, just to have a good time with all y'all. And thank you so much for your support for the show here. But jumping into things, it is Monday. Normally, we would be doing 3 up and 3 down inside today's show. Laura is absent. I believe she is traveling back to Montreal today, and I was home after my own trip was canceled to New York City due to inclement weather and natural disaster, act of God, etc. So I'm home taking care of this. We're going to do 3 up and 3 down after Monday night's game. They are playing, I believe, Toronto one last time here. If not, it's Ottawa. And either way, everyone's just going to be mad anyhow. But we're going to do 3 up and 3 down after that. Get a nice big bunch together there for the games after the weekend. But I do have to talk to you about the games that were played by the Canadiens this weekend. And admittedly, not great. 2 poor games for 2 very different reasons here. Friday night's game was just nothing happened. Nothing was happening, and everything looked lethargic, and that people weren't there. People weren't caring all that much. It looked like a preseason game. The Canadiens didn't look great, and there were a bunch of cuts that came after that game, I believe, on Saturday, which, okay, fine. But from what I understand and from watching, the reactions on Twitter and catching the last little bit that I did, there really wasn't much to be excited about for the Canadiens in Friday night's 2-1 loss to Toronto. It's just one of those preseason games where it's very clear things haven't clicked into place yet. And the biggest part of that being special teams has not clicked into place yet. And trust me, we will get to special teams in this episode. It is a big complaint that I have. I was able to watch Saturday's game, and the Canadiens looked good. Admittedly, Toronto was not playing their A team or anything close to it. But what I saw from the players in that game was lots of shots being created and other things. They looked more cohesive until they didn't, where mistakes bit them over and over again, and preventable mistakes. Justin Barron, trying to jump out of the zone with a play where the puck has not cleared the line yet or is not close to clearing the line yet, leaving, Samuel Montembeault to face a 2-on-0 in his own zone that started at their own blue line. Those are mental mistakes. I'm not, going to be the person that's like, oh my God, they lost 2 preseason games to the Leafs. It's terrible. Everything's bad. They're never going to win anything whatsoever. It's preseason. It's not the end of the world. I'm not going to be super upset by what I'm seeing in things, because I did see a lot of good things, but they were frustrating games in that. And again, we'll touch on this in the power play, because that's the biggest thing here, is that it's a frustrating game. They beat Ottawa. It was dumb, a very dumb game overall, but they beat them. Winning games feels important to this, and you want to build strong foundational bits before going into the regular season here. And we've seen it before, how frustrating it can be when you're doing all the right things. You're making the right reads. You're getting cycle chances. You're getting shots. You're getting rebounds. You're getting rebound chances. and you can't pop in a goal on a goaltender who Martin Jones was very good, admittedly, but the Canadiens also failed to capitalize on him kicking out a lot of rebounds, a lot of second chance opportunities. And those are things that, they have players who can do that. And yes, not all of them were playing in that game. Brendan Gallagher was not playing in that game. Rafael Harvey-Pinard was, and he was all around the net. That line with Kirby Dach and Uri Slafkovsky is very good, and it's one that I'd like them to keep together. I think Alex Newhook is a very good fit with Suzuki and Caulfield right now. I think Monahan's looked all right in the games that he's played, and that's what you can ask of him. These last two games were kind of like, hey, is anyone going to make that push here? And there were players who played well. And when we get into the training camp cuts later in the show here, we'll dig into that. I just look at these games and I go, it's so frustrating. Because as I'm watching them play on Saturday night, I'm like, they're doing all the right things. They're getting chances, repeat chances. They're keeping the Leafs on their toes. And then they get a power play and everything dies. And again, we will touch on the power play specifically, but it's a league average power play in both those games. And the Canadiens are probably going into the last week of the preseason 3-1 instead of 1-3. And it's so maddening that, and it looked good when the preseason started. In the first game against the Devils, they didn't score, but they looked more cohesive. They looked like they were getting somewhere. And that was with a much more thrown together lineup there than before. There's always not a ton to take from it. I will say I was impressed. I don't think the goaltending's been bad, but it is prone to brain farts again. Jakub Dobiš came in relief of Samuel Montembeault on Saturday. Looked fine. He's headed to the AHL. Montembeault has this really bad habit of weird goals. One, I believe it was Steve's to Minton goal. There's nothing you can do about that. You're 2-on-0 in front of the net. The Matthew Nyes wraparound is probably not what you want, though. Where he's around the net, I think it was Ian Boisvert pointed out, he's like, his post ceiling sometimes isn't great because he had the one that bounced off the end boards and went in right behind where his skate was on the post there. And I'm not a goaltending expert by any means, but I don't know if that's something that can just be tweaked a little bit. Other than that, I thought Montembeault looked pretty decent across the board, which is a good sign. I assume we'll see a heavy dose of Jake Allen and Caden Primo here because the Canadiens said they might carry 3 goaltenders now. So they're basically just doing the good, the bad, and the ugly standoff here, and each one of them's got a goalie stick pointed at the other one here, and we'll kind of see what comes of it. I think Montembeault is in the driver's seat here. Tampa Bay is obviously looking for a goaltender, and I think that the Canadiens are waiting to suss out who is going to hold that spot there. And if it's not going to be Jake Allen, will they try and trade him and run with Primo Montembeault, which then the only person in the AHL on an NHL deal that you can call up is Dobiš, unless they give, something like Strauss-Mann a contract, which I don't think they would do. And there's getting off the point of that is that I think the goaltenders looked good. There were some bits of the defense that I thought were very, very good. And also shout out John Parker Jones for having a very surprising Friday night game against the Leafs. I don't think he's anything better than an AHL, ECHL player at this point, but to come in, I believe that's his first real NHL game action preseason that wasn't unless he played one last year, I'm not 100% sure, but he came in, he played fourth line minutes, whatever it was, and he put a decent showing together. Like I like to joke that he's big and everything like that playing for the Rocket, but good for him. He may never play an actual NHL game, but this is still a huge moment for him. He scored on a breakaway at like the rookie showcase last year. It was one of the funniest things I've seen because nobody knew who he was. And all of a sudden he's out of the box on a breakaway and scoring against Ottawa. And it was one of the funniest things I've ever seen in my entire life. So the recap for the weekend, and it's frustrating. You can see the growing pains in real time. The guys who are supposed to be playing well, Suzuki, Caulfield, Dach, Harvey-Pinard, etc., all look very good. Very, very good. There's some underrated guys that I think look pretty good. I've liked what I've seen from Lias Andersson. I liked what I saw from William Trudeau. I loved what I saw from David Reinbacher in this preseason. Obviously, we'll touch on more of the prospects and stuff heading into the show later on. But first, coming up next, we gotta talk about the power play. We're not even in the regular season yet, and it's already a breaking point. What can they do to fix that? I've got some solutions and ideas, and that's all coming up next. But first, let's talk to you about eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience. What brings home the winning trophy is also what keeps your ride or die car alive. And eBay Motors is everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance, from superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time, or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to United States customers. We are back here at Locked On Canadiens, and by we, I mean I. I am your host for the day, Scott Matla. Laura will be back in tomorrow's episode when we go through our 3 up and 3 down like we always do for you. There is a game Monday night, so we want to make sure we get that squeezed in to get a full glance of who's up, who's down in this. And I guarantee on the down list already, again, we're going to talk about the power play, or at least Laura and I will. I'm going to talk to you about it now because I'm going to be very blunt here, and I think I can just, it sucks. It's not good. Going 0 for 11 over 2 games against Toronto's like B and C teams, B and a half teams, whatever you want to call them, is not good. It's such a frustrating thing to watch happen because you can see the struggles in real time. It's not, oh, they just missed wide or hit some post. It's that they cannot get set up. They spend half the time fishing the puck from their own end of the ice because they cannot enter the zone under control. They dump it in or they try and chip it in and they get into a board battle, goes around the backboards and it gets dumped out and they go back around again and skate back. And it's so pointless and dumb, and it's terrible to watch. And there's no reason for it to be happening anymore. We're in year 2.5, year 3. The power play has always struggled a little bit, but it used to be able to put together some consistency. The only consistency it has now is that it's bad and that it doesn't create anything of note for this team to work with here. And there's too much good personnel for that to be the case. Your power play should not be getting outscored by your penalty kill over the course of 2 games. And the penalty kill scored 1 goal, only 1 goal, and it outscored the power play. That's a problem. There's too much shooting talent. There's too much offensive talent in terms of prospects and veterans on this team for it to not be a functioning piece of it right now. And I'm not asking for them to be the Edmonton Oilers, where they're number one because they've got McDavid and Draisaitl and whatever. They can do whatever they want. I am asking for like league average because it blows my mind and kills me because the progress for this rebuild here and taking that next step is getting some of these young offensively gifted prospects to the next level offensively. And that means, hey, we need the power play to work. We talk about Cole Caulfield being a 40-goal guy, 50-goal guy. If the power play doesn't work properly and sits there at like 26th, 27th in the league, that's not going to happen. Not because Caulfield isn't capable of it, but because the power play functioning as a whole with him as a part of it is not functioning. If they cannot find a consistent way to feed him the puck or to get Suzuki the puck in areas or Doc the puck in areas to, utilize and create opportunities, none of it matters. Like truly none of it matters. And it's like you're being gatekept by a boss in a video game. They're like, I've done everything I can in this area here. I've drafted high. I've added in prospects. I've brought in, some players who fit our system. And then you get to the boss and it goes, well, you didn't pick up this weapon. You need the sort of power play itis and you don't have it. And so bonk, and you just keep running headlong into this. And that next step forward is, winning more games, and you just can't get past it. It's insane because every single time I watch it, there's a drop pass through the neutral zone and they try and come in with speed, but the person with the puck is flying past with speed. No one else is moving because they're at the line and the puck gets dropped back. The defense is still moving and is able to intercept the puck, chip it out. And it is just, it's insanity. Find a new way to get in the system here and stop operating from the edges in the perimeter. If you are on the points, it's great. Yeah, we know Shea Weber and PK Subban used to be great at getting slap shots in from the point as one-timers. Jeff Petrie and Andrei Markov with good sneaky wrist shots from the blue line or to pass it around a little bit. That's not there with this current group, guys. Like Mike Matheson can play that Markov-like role. Let him rove, let him, do his thing, but he's out injured currently, which not great. What I want to see and where a lot of their success is, have someone who's very good at operating behind the net as a playmaker. Is that Suzuki? Is that Doc? Is it Newhook? Is it, a Monahan or somebody? Get them the puck along the goal line or below the goal line and force the goalie to be looking over his shoulder. So when you move quickly, they've got to snap and try to be ready here. I've watched a lot of the goals that the Canadiens have given up in that players are operating from behind the net, and shout out Ryan Stimson, who was shouting this forever. Operate below the goal line because the goaltender's got to be checking. If you're operating in front here all the time, like if I am the goaltender and everything is in front of me and they're sticking between the points, I can just keep shuffling my body in that direction. If they're operating behind me, I have to turn more. Unless I've got very good reaction time or very good guessing, I am in a situation where I cannot react as quickly. And I know the Canadiens have the people that can make this work. You can leave Caulfield where he is. You can put someone in the middle there. Give me someone operating this Canadiens power play from behind the net more. You can bring defenses in because if they're going around there, then you can go back to the point and then you can work guys in a little bit and you can press them. You just got to disguise your intentions. If they know you're going to pass it around the perimeter and try to get a one-timer out of the left face-off circle, who cares? You're not Alex Ovechkin. I love Caulfield, but he's not. And it just leaves you in a spot where you are not doing the best you can with the situation you have. And I want to see that next step to go. I want to see Nick Suzuki hit 80 points. I want to see Caulfield hit 40 goals. I want to see Kirby Dach become a 60-point player. These are high-end goals. I understand that. And to do that, you have to have a power play that functions. It's great that the Canadiens wow, a lot of their points are coming 5-on-5. They could be so much further along, or we could be so much better if the power play functioned. Truly. And I don't think at this point, like something like do they need to hire a coach who only comes in during practice and walks them through how the power play should work? And then in the game is up in the press box, you get radio down to whoever's on the bench. Do this, set them up this way when they're going to a power play so the coaches can know. You're the Montreal Canadiens. You have the money for this. You can hire a specialist. You can hire somebody who can tell you why your power play is terrible, I'm sure. And I'm sure there are people who'll be loving that, guess what? Your power play sucks. Here's how to fix it. And I'm not saying hire me unless they wanted to, which would be cool, but I am not a power play expert. I'm just a guy with ideas that I borrowed from smarter people on Twitter. But it's got to change. We're -2 games into the regular season here. Like, I think that metaphor makes sense. It's even a metaphor. I don't think it is, but and the power play has already become concerning levels of bad. And it's not like, oh, there's a bunch of prospects playing on it, which there were, okay, and people were giving it some leeway as they figured it out, but there's professionals at every level here, that played in the AHL last year, that played in the NHL last year before that or have, and it doesn't work. You got to figure it out because this regular season is going to be a lot more painful, going to be a lot more boring if you can't get the power play sorted out sooner rather than later. And I, quite frankly, have no interest in watching a power play that goes out there and wastes 2 minutes. Like the officials almost gave them a 4-minute power play last night. And I almost just got up and turned the game off because I'm like, I don't want to watch that for 4 minutes. No, thanks. It is not in my best interest in my health to do that. So we'll see what adjustments they make going into Monday's game. And then I believe they have one on Saturday, a couple days off before the regular season begins. However, with the regular season around the corner, the Canadiens have now cut their camp by over 40 bodies. They're down to 33 players in camp as of the recording of this show. Anyways, I have not checked the news and I will not do that during the show because it's distracting. We're going to get into the cuts and who are the biggest snubs leaving camp. All that's coming up next. But first, our next partner is something I use every morning. I gave AG1 a try because I was tired of trying to find a big vitamin supplement routine with a million different pills and everything. And I want to cover all my bases with one easy scoop first thing in the morning. Helps me start my day, gives me my energy, gives me my nutrients, my vitamins, everything that I need to get up and start my day on the right foot, full of energy and getting everything I need for my body and my health here. And we know athletes take care of their body. And a huge part of that is starting with optimizing their whole body health. And with AG1, you get that as well. With every daily serving, you're setting yourself up with 75 high quality ingredients that give me key daily nutrients and support energy, focus, strength, and clarity. It's a micro habit that delivers macro benefits and helps just about everybody take care of their body every day. So if a comprehensive solution is what you need from a supplement routine, try AG1 and get a free 1-year supply of vitamin D and 5 free AG1 travel packs with your first purchase. Just go to drinkag1.com/NHL network and check it out today. We are back here at Locked On Canadiens. We're wrapping up the show in this final segment here. The Canadiens came into camp with a literal army of bodies. I think they had 72 or 73 players. As of the time of this recording, they are down to 33. They announced a big round of cuts Saturday morning, and that was 25 players are heading to Rocket training camp, and that is Gabriel Bourque, Jared Davidson, Isaac Dufour, Brandon Gignac, Nathan Legale, Riley McKay, Philip Machar, Jan Mysak, Yakov Novak, Joshua Watt, Xavier Simoneau, Tyson Malanek, Alex Olivier Voyer, and Nolan Yaremko. 8 defensemen, Toby Bisson, Stanislav Demen, Oliver Galipo, Noah Launen, Christopher Ortiz, John Parker Jones, Jaden Struble, and Miguel Torini. 3 goaltenders, Zach Raymond, Strauss Mann, and Joe Verbatic. 4 players on waivers, Lucas Gandata and Mitchell Stevens as forwards, Nicholas Beaudin and Brady Keeper on defense. Owen Beck was sent back to the OHL in that group as well. So that was 38 players. And then as of, let me just double check my names here. They cut 5 more after that game there. They sent Dobish, Kidney, Farrell, and Trudeau to the Laval Rocket, also for training camp that opens on Monday. And David Reinbacher went back to Switzerland to play with the EHC Cloton, which not unexpected. And I'm glad that they didn't wait too long on that front for things there. I got to say, there's a few surprising names in the cuts that came before the game yesterday that I'm not super wild about. I thought both Davidson and Wah had earned maybe one more game here, especially Joshua Wah, who I thought was knocking on the door to maybe steal a roster spot from somebody here. And they decided to, nope, get everybody into Rocket camp and get that focus there. And William Trudeau, I think, was the biggest one for me. I thought Trudeau played very well this preseason. I thought he acclimated himself quite well and could very, very easily have found himself in an NHL role going into this preseason, especially based on the way that other players have played in front of him. Some of the more veteran prospects haven't played up to what I expected of them, which is nothing that he can control. But if I look at this whole thing here, my thought is when I look at this, I go, this is them trying to suss out those final NHL spots. They've got a lot of bodies. And if they get everybody in Rocket camp, this is a very, very full AHL team because there are some guys who are already practicing down with the Rocket uniforms and everything already. We'll find out if Kandata, Stevens, Beaudin, and Keeper cleared today. I don't think anyone would be claiming them for their NHL teams at this point. At least I hope not. Losing Beaudin, I think, would be a little bit of a blow. Keeper, I could be up in the air about. Stevens, I would also not like to lose. He was a big linchpin in getting the Rocket to the playoffs last year when I don't think Richard was called up and there were other injuries. But this is a bunch of guys now that they got to figure out what they're doing in the AHL because that season starts very soon as well. And there's a lot of prospects. Simoneau, Wah, Davidson, Machar, Legoe, etc. Those are guys that they're going to be counting on. Brandon Gignac asserted himself really well in the preseason. I know that he didn't He scored 1 goal, and he's fast as all heck. He's not going to get an NHL deal, but I think he's showcased why he got a 2-year deal with the Rocket when he did after their 2021 playoff run there. I liked what I saw from that, and now it's just down to who's battling it out in camp. And you have guys like Barron, Logan Mailloux is still there, Matthias Norlinder is still in NHL camp, which I love to see. He's looked much better than he used to. You have Harris, Jackeye, etc. on defense that they're battling. There's Lindstrom, there's Weidman who's out injured. The battles that are happening are those bottom 6 spots with Tanner Pearson here now. A spot that was probably open for Jesse Olonen is now kind of restricted a little bit. And what do you do with there's still a lot of bodies in camp here, and they are 10 players over, I believe. There's 33 left. You can carry a 23-man roster, not counting guys who are going on IR, etc. They've still got bodies to cut. And I assume Mailloux and Norlinder will probably end up going to Mailloux, I know will end up going to the AHL. Norlinder is really pressing his case for this right now, that he shouldn't be going down to the AHL right now. And I got to say, I love that for him. That's humongous. Like, he's really asserted himself very strongly here. Kidney Farrell obviously are gone, which is, kind of disappointing. I expected more from Sean Farrell in the preseason here. My whole thought on this is that they're going to let, some of these NHL rosters settle. Are players injured? What do we need going into the regular season? What teams suddenly have space due to injuries? Like the Ducks just lost one of their big offseason signings for, I believe it was 3 to 4 months, recovering from a fractured finger or hand or something. Could they be interested, in taking on somebody like, let's say Yoel Armia, et cetera here? There's a lot of opportunity for new things to happen going into the preseason here, but there's going to be some cuts that I think are going to hurt a little bit. And I know Primo's still in camp, and they mentioned they might just carry 3 goaltenders. I don't agree with that if you think you're going to lose him, then find someone to trade with. Then make something happen if that's your case, because I don't think he's better than either of the NHL options right now. And if you don't think he's going to clear, you can't send him to the AHL. It's going to be a busy week here. I think what we see after Monday night's game is going to be a lineup of, this is your, prove it shot. If you don't take the opportunity, you're going to go back to the AHL, or you're going to get put on waivers. Simple as that. And that includes guys who I think had secure NHL spots last year, like a Pizzetta, who, might need to take that next step there. A guy like Elias Anderson, who I thought has played well, but he could very easily go on waivers. Philippe Maillet could go on waivers, etc. Prove that you can get that spot, basically, there. I'm curious who your biggest surprise cut was in this, and who you think should be the first NHL call-up. I think Trudeau and Waugh have put themselves firmly at the front of the call-up line here from the Laval Rocket, and I hope they do. I hope this season we see a lot of guys coming up from the Rocket because there are open spots for them. I guess we'll see and find out. They got another game Monday night. We'll have 3 up and 3 down. Probably more roster news following that game that Laura and I will dive into for all of y'all. Make sure you're following us on wherever you get your daily podcast, Google, Apple, Spotify, or if you are watching my shining face on YouTube this wonderful morning. Thank you so much for subscribing. We will pass along the news of our next food challenge. Might be spicy again. We're not 100% sure, but I think that's the way we're going. Make sure you're following us on Twitter at @LO_Canadiens so you can enjoy our humor in text form as well. You can follow me at Scott Madley. You can follow Laura at The Active Stick when she is back from her trip. That'll do it for this episode. We will see you all next time.